before. And now you can have full-on conversations on the internet with somebody in Paris and talk what as easily as possible, but people are choosing to use it more often that in that negative sense. And we need more people, like you said, Todd. There's bad things that happen to us, and we can either, you know, just sit behind our keyboard and make the rest of the world miserable, or go out in the universe and be mean to people in a store or whatever, or obnoxious. But, you know, we can turn that into something good. And we need that. We need that. And however corny that sounds, we are desperate as a human race. We are desperate for that kind of activity. We need it, in my opinion.
Need, it's an understatement, and people take that outside thing. You know, it's funny. We just talked about this last night at a meeting I was at. It was about friendship, and I use a thing that I've used for a long time. I call it my variety pack of hula hoops of sizes. You know, you keep the closest people close to you, my small little hula hoop, and then it extends out. You know, then you get to the point where you just have acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
Those that matter don't care, and those that care don't matter. You gotta look at it like that. I can give two shits of what somebody on the outside that doesn't know me, that is giving their perception or their judgment on me, and to give a description, whatever. I don't care. If I started letting little things like that bother me, good Lord, I'd be a hot mess. You know, because the only thing it's affecting is me.
Yeah.
You know, I know who I am today. I love the person I am today. I love the fact that I can admit when I'm wrong. Takes all the stress off. And
of course it does.
But I can also admit when I'm vulnerable. I can admit when I'm sensitive. I can take criticism from my friends. And accept it and not be defensive and fight back. And it took a long time to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm not that perceptive. And I need to beat my head against the wall to get rid of a headache like I normally do, but it's still there. And these are learned and taught behaviors. I've seen people get seriously flipped out on Facebook.
Right.
And ready to go to war, and they have no. It could be somebody just on purpose on the other end of the line, just saying everything the opposite of what you want to hear, just to irritate you. It's like poking a dog in a cage or an animal, you know.
Yeah.
And it's people that aren't well.
We have to get to a point to where, though. You know, how you said it was a learned and a taught, thing within you. There's so many people that you and I both talked about being proud before. And there's so many people that they are too proud to think that they need to change or they need to work on something. And, you're right. It did. You can cloud yourself up with being busy and all is well and good. And to be honest, I didn't have a point in my life where I was going to do that until all my kids were in college and out of the house and on their own. And I found myself sitting in a house all by myself for the first time in my entire life. I had lived with someone. I had a very small snapshot when I was in my early 20s where I actually lived in an apartment on my own. So say I had maybe a year. But for the most part, I had a relationship, and then we got married, and then we had kids, and and of course all my life, I didn't move out from mom until I was 23. So then that was the time when I had moved out and I was on my own just for a little bit, but I had a relationship. So with a relationship, often he spent the night or then eventually moved in. And so,
right.
and now I'm sitting in all these walls going, I mean, there's only one person you're looking at, and it is you in the mirror, and it starts hitting you hard about who you aren't, who you could have been, should be doing, coulda, woulda, shouldas, and that was my hard time, and all of a sudden I was looking at, like I said, all the things that I wasn't and the things that needed to be corrected, and I was trying to do it all on my own, Todd, and you can't.
How'd that work out?
Yeah, it didn't work out too good. Didn't work out too good. And then I was pressing on because I obviously had friends and I obviously worked, but I wasn't digging in at who I was, and I knew there was something going on because of the way I was responding to things. I was reacting, and I'm with a temper, and hurt, and the whole woe is me, and that was not working out well at all, and I was hurting relationships around me, really important ones.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever our baggage is, or our history is, or whatever we're hauling around, and now we've got these big old backpacks we can put on, and carry it on. Yeah, this is all mine. This is all my hurt, and I zip it up, and I'm going to put it right there on my back, and you may or may not be able to see it, but it's heavy, and I'm taking it with me. Instead of, which I eventually did, is I took it off, I unzipped, and I started pulling out all of these things that happened that rightfully caused my hurt. They were hurtful things, but it was okay, so it happened. Now what are you going to do? And
Right.
I post this, all kinds of stuff like this on Facebook, hoping I can help anybody, because there's this Trent Shelton, and he is amazing in talking about let it go. Let it go. It's gone. You're here now. And I love how he posts about that particular topic more than I think any other. You got to let it go. And so that you can work on the now, and you can learn from it, but you can't continue to live through it, or you won't go anywhere, and you're going to make yourself miserable and your life miserable and the people around you miserable. And you can make it look good, like you're fine. And that is not living. That quality. No. I know you can speak on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very simple analogy that I had seen on YouTube, and it was a speaker, and he said, take this, full bottle of water, big bottle of water, and I said this before on the show, and he said, take that bottle of water and stick it straight out. And, he asked people, is it heavy? And they'd be like, no, it's not heavy. Well, wait an hour, wait 2 hours, wait 6 hours. Eventually that bottle of water is going to start getting heavy, and your shoulder's going to start to hurt, and your arm's going to start to hurt. That's what we do. That's pain, that's resentment, that's anger, that's all these things that people hang on to.
Yeah.
And he said, take the cap off the bottle of water and start to pour it out. That's what happens. It's the same thing. You start to feel relief. You let it go. It goes away. Things of that nature you can't fix or change. It's over with. One of the biggest things, not only forgiving myself for my past, but forgiving others that I didn't want to. Just like you said, that without a reasonable doubt caused harm to me.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to forgive those people and forgive people for apologies, I was never going to get. Because then you got that aspect of someone too, and myself. I'm like, well, they owe me an apology, and I am not letting this shit go until they do. Well, you know what? That might never happen. So it's a process. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to see a girl I know speak tonight, and her and I were super duper good friends, and I faded contact with her when I had gotten into a relationship, and what I thought was out of more so respect for the new relationship to not be in such contact with this person, and I was wrong. Now I'm going to go see her speak tonight, and I'm going to make amends to her. Not for me, but that's not what you do.
Yeah.
You know, and I was doing it in person, not via text. People are so impersonal now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We
Although I did do something. I mean, I did do something, not something goofy, but it was just something that probably shouldn't have been done via text. But I kept getting. It was a funny story, but I kept getting pestered about this thing. You need to tell me. I said. So one of these days I'm going to tell you this funny story. One of these days I'm going to tell you a funny story. And she kept going, what is so funny? You tell me. You know, you already cracked it open. Now you got to tell me. I'm like, I'm not going to do it via, excuse me, via text. And I eventually did because it would stop, but it's just the way it is. But,
I understand what you're saying. That, my kids tease me about leaving voicemails because I still do. And I have one of my managers that I work with. He calls me and doesn't leave a voicemail, and he says, "You see my missed call. You know I needed to talk to you." And we're even getting to that point to where we're not putting the human behind a message. And I love all of the new mediums that we can talk to each other. Again, you can text somebody or message somebody across the world, and it works. But on the other hand, you're right. Picking up that phone, we were talking yesterday in training, and I said, get a big old box of generic cards and start handwriting cards to your clients and just tell them, hey, hope you're having a great day. Put that in the mail with your handwriting, and people love it. I love when I get a handwritten card. I love it. There's something that's different about seeing, because I'm a writer, about seeing that handwritten note and the stamp that it cost to put it in snail mail and be able to do that. I'm on a crusade of we need to get back to it. We've got to get back to getting, bringing that in. People post so much nostalgia, present company included, and it's because there was something about that time. And, one of my favorite shows to unwind to in the evening is Andy and Mayberry, just watching Mayberry and the old fashioned. And what's so funny to me about that show is that show was in its present time, but it was making fun of being simple. And that's part of the humor behind it. And I say that the creators of the show and the writers of the show and the directors of that show knew. They knew this was going to be something they needed to capture in time. And that's a very highly watched show on one of those old channels. And when we look at old movies that are made, we don't want to see any mistakes. We don't want to see a guy with a Rolex watch and they're trying to do a circa 1920 or whatever.
right.
We don't want to see his. You look for wedding rings and stuff when you're looking for the mistakes sometimes, especially when you see a movie several times, like I do. But we wanted to capture those times, in my opinion, those folks, because they knew it was going to be something that was treasured and valued. Now, do we need to embrace current technology? Yeah. We do. Can we use it to our advantage? Yeah. But we have to incorporate those other things too, or we are just going to be walking unfeeling, uncaring people. And I love what you said, Todd, that these people with the worst loss there is now are making an effort to try and talk to or help others or do something about it. I mean, who could imagine that? The death of their child by overdose. That's just terrible. But
Hmm.
instead of wallowing, kind of holding it all in, I mean, it's all in good time.